Welcome everybody back to another episode of the Handsome Homebuyer Podcast. My name is Charles, a.k.a. the Handsome Homebuyer, a.k.a. Captain Permit, a.k.a.
El Judío Maravilloso,
a.k.a. the soon-to-be LLS 2020 Man of the Year. And today's guest is going to help me get there. But Maddie, before we do that, you know who also is already the Man of the Year?
Captain Permit.
Damn right, Captain Permit. 516-513-8838. If you need plans, if you need permits, if you need anything real estate related, interior alterations, dormers, legalizations, decks, commercial, we service everywhere from Elmont to Montauk and everything in between. We're a good time, and we have the best looking crew in the business. So reach out to us, 516-513-8838. And obviously, I'm the Handsome Homebuyer. You have a house that smells like cat pee, is dated from the 1960s, has 6 inches of mold on the wall, or human waste floating past the basement steps. I'm quick, I'm easy, I'm all cash, I'm a good time. I want to buy it. 516-777 sold. All right, the launch date is almost here. 2/17. That is Monday, right? Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Monday. Tickets go on sale for the best and biggest and brightest real estate event that Long Island has ever seen, in my opinion. Is
100%.
that a fact? Am I
That's a
talking
matter
out
of
my ass, or
fact.
is that
That's
a
a
fact?
matter of fact.
That
yeah.
is a fact.
Yeah.
We are getting together 9 of the top real estate investors from Long Island, on Long Island, for Long Island, fix and flip, 1 to 4 family rentals, raising money, tax liens, tax deeds, note purchases, construction, you name it. If you want to learn about it so you can make millions doing it, the best of the best are going to be there, and they're going to teach you to do it for the price of a ticket, which goes to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to help eradicate cancer. Who's better than you? Who's better than us?
No one, except the people who attend.
Exactly.
Because they can make the difference. They can actually do the difference, make the big steps necessary to help us out.
Tickets on sale, 2/17. Show is May 17th at the Tilla Center. Limited seats available. We're going to be selling a bunch of tickets. 10% of the tickets going to be donated for free to high school kids across the island who want to get access to this information and who can't afford to buy a ticket. So reach out to us. Tickets will be available 2/17. And it's going to be a banger, man.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited about it. This is going to be huge.
All right. So today's guest, I've been practicing his name. I'm going to hope I don't mess it up. But let me read the long and distinguished list of accomplishments. This gentleman is the founder and CEO of the Tillery Success Solutions. I got that?
That's right. Yeah.
Bam. Off to a good start. Sales and performance coach, Grant Cardone licensee. He is the only brick and mortar establishment where you can get one-on-one coaching and sales training in any industry, but they are very real estate heavy, but in any industry, because sales is sales.
That's right.
You could sell a widget, you could sell a house, you could sell Matt Our Visual. Full media production and branding, virtual training platform build-outs, events, you name it. He's only 30 years old. He's a former Keller Williams coach, and his goal for his company in his lifetime is to create 1 million millionaires. Mr. JB Bolvadin.
Thank you, Charles.
Did I get it?
Yeah, you got it.
Yes!
The funny thing is, it's not the first time we met, but we just had to get this name in tight.
Dude, every time I just call you JB, and every time
Yeah.
I need to look you up on IG or something, I just hit the JB thing.
And there it goes.
Because I mess it up every time, but now it's locked in.
There we go.
It's locked in the memory. So it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You and I got close recently, very, very generously donated your time to help in the Man of the Year campaign.
Absolutely. It's my
Leukemia
pleasure.
Lymphoma Society. And I got to tell you, man, I mean, I've told you before, but I'll tell you in front of the world or whoever's listening to this, you're brilliant.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're brilliant.
that. Thank you very much.
In the marketing space, in the event space, in apparently anything having to do with girls and relationship space, as we just learned a few minutes offline, mind-blowing stuff. At 30 years old, he knows more about marketing in life than I've learned in 40 years. So thank you for that. Very cool.
Thank you.
And with your help, I know that we're going to make this event as crazy as it could possibly be and change a lot of lives.
Absolutely. So yeah. We're going to make a big difference. It's my pleasure. Thanks.
So, I mean, I think everybody needs to know kind of where all this knowledge came from. And then if you can share as much as you can with the people out there. But I want to get a little bit of background, where you grew up, where you came from, and then ultimately how you got into sales and coaching and how you saw a need for this kind of service and went for it.
Sure. So I grew up in Queens, actually, in Whitestone. I was born and raised there, and I was the only child. I always wish I had siblings, but now it's not too bad being an only child. When you get older, it's not too bad. When you're younger, you get a little lonely. So moved out to Long Island when I was like 9 or 10 years old. And coming out there were some things that I noticed that I didn't realize were problems, but there were problems. Like, for example, when you grow up in Queens, you don't have a car. It's not a big deal because public transportation is everywhere. When you grow up in Long Island and not have a car, it's considered kind of underprivileged, or it becomes very noticeable. So I remember at a really young age when we moved out there, we used to walk to a grocery store, which anyone who's from Queens would be like, yeah, big deal. But from Long Island, it's just not normal. So we would come back, and literally every kid would make fun of me as I'm walking home with my mom for not having a car. And also,
what town did you live in?
I live in Patchogue. Yeah. Okay. So in Patchogue,
so you went from like, dude, that's like culture shock.
Yeah,
you went
huge.
from Queens to Patchogue.
That's right.
25 years ago? How long?
Yeah, 98, 99.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was something where, like, I started to realize, and look, Patchogue is not a rich area, and it wasn't back then either. But I just started to realize, like, at that moment, I started to get real awareness of, like, everyone was getting nicer stuff or doing stuff, or everyone had multiple cars, and we didn't. I want to do something, and it's the first time I would get these concepts of, like, we can't, or it's not there. We didn't grow up poor. I'll tell you this. My father worked really hard, and, always provided well, and he was very conservative in what he did. Like, he chose stability for us rather than risk. Which helped me grow to where I am. But I started to realize that maybe taking some risks, it would almost be a sin if he was conservative to make sure that we were well taken care of, for him to allow me to have those things, not have to worry about where I'm going to eat or where I'm going to sleep.
See, so that's an interesting concept for me, because it happens, but it's very rare for people to break out of that mindset.
Yeah.
Like, typically you are what you live. So if you come up in a family that's very, get a good job, work for somebody, be there for 30 years, stability, it's rare for you to break out of something like that. So how did that happen?
Well, I didn't like not having, and by that I mean, it's like we weren't poor. Like we like I said, I always had a place to eat, always had a place to sleep. I had an education. But what I'm saying is that I just noticed that people were having, and it's an option there. My dad is he's a very brilliant guy. I mean, he was writing software when Nokias were just brick phones, no smartphones yet. And he would text the house and control the lighting in there. And he would, for my science project, we built an autonomous robot that could navigate rooms. And this is in the 90s and stuff. So
what did he do for a living, your father?
He's a software engineer, electronics engineer.
Okay.
And he's worked on, satellite systems and rockets for NASA.
Wow.
And now he's, with the MTA. But what I'm saying is that I watched a guy with a lot of potential that really had opportunity to go into the private sector on his own, to do these things that 10, 15 years later comes out mainstream.
Yeah.
But didn't bring out to the marketplace. So I basically was, I grew up raised by a very wealthy guy without him knowing. He didn't even know he was wealthy.
Wow.
So I started to think to myself, okay, people would tell me I have potential. But I'll give you an example. I got left back in 6th grade. So I was left back all the time. But I graduated on time because I doubled up the last year before high school.
Okay.
So I kept understanding concepts of stuff and going to do things, but in school you're taught you have to get good grades and get a college degree. If you don't get that, you suck.
Yes.
You're not going to make it. You're doomed.
Yep.
So I'm sure you could see if that's the concept and those are my grades, then I probably hated school, which I did. But it's like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Then I would meet people who were making money, and I was like, well, they don't have good grades, or they're actually not considered this version of smart. And then I read.
How old are you when you realize this?
About like 17 to 18, 19. That's where I started to have my real epiphanies on it. Then I heard this quote, and it said most C and D students open up companies that A and B students work for. And I was like, that's real to me. I can work with that, because you need to find something that's real to you and work off of that. You can't have this like data coming to you that you don't acknowledge as real and work off of that. So I started to work in sales, right around 7, since I was a teenager, but like 18, 19, I found this really cool job. And I worked with a marketing company, and that marketing company had a contract with Epson printers and projectors.
Okay.
And my job was to go to every retailer that held Epson and make them at least number 3. They said Hewlett-Packard can be number 1, Canon can be number 2, make us at least number 3. And they put me through this training process, and they were based out of California. So I made Epson number 1 in every single store. And I was like 278% above quota for sales. One time we sold, I had the group sell everything out where even the displays got sold.
Wow.
So I was really excited about that, and at the time it was a good paying job for my age. So they said, when you finish college, we're going to make you a regional manager, so you can actually run a region and start to get on a more corporate level, get off of the field. And I was so pumped about that. Like, this is awesome. So I got an email, and it said, we need everyone to jump on a conference call tonight at 9 p.m. I'm like, 9 p.m., that's weird. Me, Connecticut, New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all on a conference call.
How old are you at this time?
19.
Okay.
Yeah. And they said, hey, thank you for everyone making the call tonight. We've lost our contract with Epson, so everyone who's on this call, effective immediately, is terminated.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was banking on this becoming a career for me on a corporate level. And then some guy just gets on the conference call. It's like, hey, I just joined. What did I miss? And it's like, I got fired again. So it's the whole thing over again.
Wow. You know what the interesting thing is? Because, I mean, where did I hear this from? I heard it from when I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book back in the day, which started my whole thing, that a lot like Xerox, a lot of the printer companies have the most gangster sales training programs.
Yeah, they do.
And he always recommended starting with somebody like that because you get an unbelievable sales training.
100%. Yeah, their training was very good.
Did they teach you so I owned a Mako before this, and my dad's partner, he owned a different Mako. He worked for Electrolux vacuum cleaners, selling vacuums door to door in the 70s. So he was trained in the real old school art of sales, like Yes Mood, Alternate Choice Clothes, Zig Ziglar, Tommy Hopkins, like all that shit. So I was blessed to be able to learn that from him. Is that the kind of stuff they taught you, like the real science of sales?
No, this was more based off of the retail front and building relationships with the actual company, and then also building rapport and relationships with clients. So
okay,
and they also made it easy for you a little bit because the product was really good. Like, we would print out photos on photo paper and then take my finger like this, it wouldn't smudge, and I'd pour water on it, it wouldn't smudge. So it kind of like you'd be able to actually prove it too, not just kind of like. So they basically leveraged what their quality products were, and then also how to communicate that effectively, which helped.
Which is huge.
It was.
Communication is everything.
Yeah, I still own Epson to this day.
How valuable was that sales training to the rest of your career?
It was valuable because it's the first time I was able to go out into a marketplace, produce, and get rewarded based off my production. So that,
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some concepts learned from that I still carry today. But the number one thing was it was proof, validated proof in the marketplace that you can succeed without necessarily having straight A's, without necessarily having certain degrees, by being able to implement and use who you are, build relationships, and use training, back the right thing, and actually get results out of it.
Very cool. No, that makes sense. And obviously, the harder you work, the better you perform, the more money you're going to make.
That's right.
As well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it was salary plus commission. There was a commission component.
Yeah, bonuses. Yeah, salary plus bonus.
So you're happy. You think you have your whole life figured out. You're 19 years old, and you get the phone call that everything you thought was going to go on is done.
That's right.
What happens?
So I get a little depressed. I really do, because when you think you have everything figured out, you know how tough it is to ask a teenager what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Dude,
and
I didn't know. I really started to figure it out in my very early 30s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people go to college and parents spend $100,000 on educations, and kids don't even know what the hell they want to do.
Exactly. So with this, I said, oh shit, what am I going to do now? So I remember I was sitting in a class once in college, and I left the class because I was frustrated, and I wrote down the timeline of what I want to do in my life. So I had to do an assignment. I found that page, and step 1 said get a real estate license.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because for some reason, I always saw real estate as a good opportunity for me because it's a very high ticket item. But more importantly, it's something that I saw a way where you can actually earn and build out something you want. And it just felt like something that I should go to. It wasn't like I need to be a real estate agent. It's almost like, okay, if I do this right, where can I make the most money fast if I do it right? The industry won't give it to me, but if I do it right, and real estate was one of those big ticket items. Then it was Goldman Sachs. But Goldman Sachs wanted graduate degrees, and I had to be in a fraternity, and I had to also donate my time here, and I had to do that, go through 19 different interviews, and about like 27,000 applications, 120 are called. So real estate it is.
Was it really one or the other?
Well, that's kind of like because I want to work in finance.
Okay.
But I didn't want to work for no offense to any financial companies in Long Island, but if I work for like a finance company in Smithtown, it's very different than in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right. And we just had the economic crash during that time. So it's 2008. So Lehman Brothers is out. Everyone else isn't hiring. Everyone's laying someone off. One of the biggest funds that were still operating very well, to my knowledge, there was more at the time, but what I knew at the time was Goldman.
Yeah.
So I respected them a lot for that. But I also saw that the process to do is like I have to suffer more through school.
Yeah.
And do all these extra things just to be considered. So I'm sure that there's exceptions to the rule, but when you're 19, to get their attention, you got to excel in education.
Yeah.
Ideally. So real estate it is. So I went to interview to Weicker Realtors. in Babylon.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that real estate was like commission only though. And I didn't even know that like you run your own business and that you got to pay for everything yourself. So she's like, you're hired. I'm like, this is great. And she's like, do you have a credit card on you? I'm like, why? I guess
Because we're going to charge you now.
Yeah. So she took my card. I signed up for real estate school, paid for that, but like now it's nothing. But back then I was like, why am I keep paying money to work here? So I do that, pass the test, get licensed. And, I show up to work in my cheap suit day one,
Okay.
And the thing is that I'm like, okay, I'm here. Now, what do you want me to do? And no one's telling me what to do. And they're like, hey, you should cold call. Here's a book of like expireds and stuff you can call. Still a little old school back then. It's 2008. The technology's there, but there's the books still were there.
Well, plus the real estate world is in the shitter. Like
it is
couldn't
terrible.
possibly be any worse.
It's absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But I thought like, I'm going to call someone, say I'm calling from a real estate company and, I can sell your house. At the time I didn't have a script put together. Like now I know what to say, but back then I didn't know anything. And they're going to say, sure, yeah, come on over. That sounds great. So my first cold call ever, when I picked up the phone, I'm like, hey, this is JB from Weinraub Realtors. And he's like, don't you ever fucking call me again. He's like cursing me out, screaming at me. And then when he goes to hang up the phone, he can't close the receiver. So you're like that. So I'm like, oh my God. And I see this list of people I need to call still. I'm like, oh man, I can't.
It's going to happen every time?
I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So, so yeah, I mean, the first year was rough trying to figure it out. But I always wanted because I came from an environment where the training was very good. And by the way, I'm not putting down any real estate brokerage specifically on their training. Just the industry in itself is lacking. Hence why I created a training company.
Oh, dude, this is my biggest thing. I call it broker beef.
Yeah.
My biggest thing in real estate is that the majority of the brokers are not giving any kind of value. They'll take anybody in, hang the license there, and there's minimal to no training.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, so the thing is that when I did that, I started to realize, like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So I was kind of learning the hard way. I came in all the time, but then there was no instruction on it. I took out some buyers, but I didn't understand how to qualify them. So I'm showing someone who's got a certain type of mortgage, REOs, which they could never buy with a conventional loan. But I didn't know all this at the time.
Yeah.
So, it starts to go on. And here I am. I turn 20 years old. I'm still going to college, so I'm going to school.
Where are you going to school?
Stony Brook.
Okay.
So I'm going to school, then doing real estate, this and that. And so what happens from there is that, like, I'm shaving one day. I feel like a lump on my neck. I'm like, what is this? So as, I go to the doctor, start checking it out. They do all these scans, and they do biopsies, and they do blood work, and everything's good. And they're like, we don't know. Like, it looks like everything's okay. Let's just take it out and then observe it. So then they send it out, and, they can't do it. So they send it to the NIH, National Institute of Health. And, I wait. And then I had an appointment with the doctor on like a Friday. And they're like, hey, can you come in on Monday? Which I didn't think anything of it. But now I know if they call you in early, it's usually not an exciting thing to talk about. They're like, hey, so, we found it's lymphoma.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what they took out was what, a lymph node?
Took out a lymph node. Yeah. So it was lymphoma. And I wasn't expecting that. I was like very like upset about it.
And you felt fine?
Yeah. Yeah, I felt
like you felt perfectly fine. You just all of a sudden you feel this lump.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I felt good, and I was like, I didn't expect that at all. So the doctor's like, he actually was the one thing I appreciate from him was this. He goes, I'm telling you this right now. If you were my son, my brother, I would send you to where I'm going to send you. And I go there, and I'm
was it in New York City?
No, Sloan Kettering, but in Comac. Okay. So they have one out here in Comac, and the doctors from the city go back and forth.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, you can't. They don't have any inpatient services there, but they have outpatient services, but no surgery there.
Okay.
So I go there, and the team there was like, very, very good. And I was very lucky. It was nodule lymphocyte predominant Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is, they says, a 5% rarest cancer. And I'm like, oh shit, like
rarest in a good way, meaning it's like
ends up being in a good way.
Okay.
And it was stage 1. So I get diagnosed with that in like February, and they cure it by July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was very grateful because the people there were just amazing. But at that moment, I withdrew from school because I had to go get treatments. I continued to work up until last week. I took the last 3-4 weeks off to watch the World Cup and recover. So it was good timing to watch soccer, at least during that time. And while I was going through that, I said to myself, like, what do I really want in life? Like, how do I really want to do this? Like, what am I really looking for And it came to me. It's like, okay, I want to be very, very, very successful. But how am I going to do it? Like, and then I'm still trying to figure out, like, exactly, is it going to be real estate? Is it going to be something else? So here's where I have my epiphany. And this is where it all comes together. So I withdrew from the semester at Stony Brook. So when you withdraw, to get back in, you have to submit an application, or else you have to wait, I think it's a year or a semester to come back. Unless you have a good reason why you withdrew.
Okay.
Something in cancer.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you go on like a medical leave or something?
Well, I withdrew, but to come back in, I have to show that I withdrew for a legitimate reason.
Okay.
So I submit an application with all my medical records, and they denied it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went in there to meet with the professor who's overseeing this, and I'm like, dude, I'm just saying, like, I couldn't finish because I had to get like treatments. Someone's head goes somewhere else that he goes. So I was like, so basically you just deny everyone. He goes, no. He goes, I approve people all the time. They just have a good reason. Yeah.
What?
His name, I think, is Douglas Hoffman, Professor Douglas Hoffman. And I can't wait when I do something really big now, which is what we're doing, is I want to go visit that guy again.
Wait, so he's serious?
I swear to God, he was very serious.
What's a good reason if not cancer?
Dude, I think I had grammar mistakes, and he was an English teacher in the essay. And I think that's what he was upset about. I swear. That's the only rationale I could find.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually haven't shared this story too many times in my life. Maybe like 2-3 people know.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But at that moment, my life's about to change. Because I was, just so you know, I was very lucky what I went through. Like, that's not even, I don't even identify with it most of the time. I'm only sharing the story because we're about to raise money for a National Leukemia Lymphoma Society. But I never made it my identity when I talked about what I went through or anything. But I can tell you at that moment, my life's about to change when he says that to me. Because I said to myself, you know, if my family was a big donor to this university, there would be no problem right now. And really what happens is I need to get close to power. Because what if this is my kid? What if, like, someone I care about or love is actually in need of something I don't have power to pull?
Wow.
Because if I have to depend on someone being a good person, I'm in trouble. But if...
Wow.
Yeah, so I have to create power.
It's interesting how traumatic, I mean, it's weird that I always say this, that I enjoy kind of traumatic life experiences because the result, like the aftermath, ends up being something amazing. But it's interesting how experiences change people and what goes on in your mind, and then ultimately what kind of motivation you get to do whatever based off that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because at that moment, I was committed to what I wanted to do. So during that time, I was turning 21 years old, so I was going to come off of health insurance with my family. Okay. And at that point, even though I was okay, you know, when you go through something like that, you definitely don't want to not have health insurance, right? So AT&T, I ended up working for them part-time during that time because they had great insurance. So I actually met a lot of people through that, ended up being clients too, because AT&T has 143 million customers.
Okay.
So 50% of the population has it. So you can kind of meet some great people very easily, from it being celebrities or from builders, developers, other people that have, you know, ended up coaching down the road. So it created a good flow for me. So I was doing that part-time to maintain insurance. Then after healthcare reform, that kind of allowed me some more autonomy. Yeah. Because I remember the regional manager on AT&T one time was mad at everyone for their numbers, and he said, "Dude, if you guys don't like working here, you know, go work at Burger King." And I was like, "Dude, healthcare reform, I don't need this place anymore." So I'm out. By the way, one thing someone should take away from this is that I was young and inexperienced at the time. Never, ever, ever compromise your mission or plan to save money on something. For me to save money on buying health insurance, I probably lost $1 million. If I just decided, let me just go out there and produce, let me not have this safety net, let me just pay for the health insurance out of pocket, even though it was $1,000 a month. At the time, I thought I was saving money, and I did not. It was better off doing it that way because basically what I'm trying to rationalize is to be big, I have to go out and expand into the marketplace. Yeah. But I have to contract to protect myself. That doesn't make sense. There's two conflicting things that will never work out. You know, and a lot of people that have ended up going to AT&T, they end up, they were supposed to be there part-time, or, you know, in retail in general, they're supposed to be there part-time or just do it. And then all of a sudden 20 years down the road, they're still there. Yeah. This time they got mortgages, all these other stuff. So they had this expansion idea, but there was a retreat tactic in it, which created the issue. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, of course. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's very easy for people to like take a conservative kind of like easy road and just say to themselves it's only temporary, but get stuck in there, and then you wake up 30 years later. Yeah. And you're in a situation. Plus, it's like time is the most valuable thing you have.
Absolutely.
And it's like highest and best use of your time.
Yeah.
Where you think you're saving money because they're paying for your health insurance, you could have been producing X amount of tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in that amount of time doing real estate or anything else.
Exactly.
So how did you end up? You ended up becoming a trainer yourself.
I did
at a very young age.
Yeah.
How did you transition from doing sales to then training?
Great question. So let's fast forward. So where we're at is now I'm getting married. This is June of 2015. My real estate business is going pretty well. I'm doing pretty good for myself and my age. And I have a destination wedding in Cyprus. And as I get married, my cousin comes up to me. I'm working at mom and pop at this point, a small little office in Huntington. And my cousin comes up to me on my wedding day, and he's like, hey, I need you to do me a huge favor. I'm trying to open up this Keller Williams office in Cyprus. And since you're American and you do real estate in America, I need you to cut your honeymoon short and fly with me to Istanbul, Turkey, to meet with KW Turkey so they can approve me. You can help me get approval for Cyprus. So
Wow.
my wife is very supportive, and she was totally okay with it. So we cut
Wow.
our honeymoon short. Literally the very next morning, right after our wedding, we didn't cut the honeymoon. We just didn't do a honeymoon. We celebrated, packed our bags at the night of our wedding, got on a plane, went to Istanbul, Turkey the next
Wow.
day. Yeah. So that meeting was 45 minutes, ended up being 4.5 hours. And they were like, hey, we want you guys to,
Do you speak Turkish?
I try to sometimes. Like, I'm not the best at it. Like, I would say,
You know the dirty words?
everyone. Dude, I know dirty words in every language.
I don't know
right?
any
Like-
dirty words in Turkish. We'll talk about that
we'll talk.
offline.
I'll give you a few. Yeah.
Keep going.
So I come back, I'm all pumped up because they invite me to this thing called Mega Camp, which is like this event. But KW Turkey is very well connected in the corporate wise. So I went to dinner with the CEO of the company, the president of International, the top 1%, literally the number one guy in every single aspect of that company internationally. I was masterminding with. In 4 days, I gained like 10 years experience.
Wow.
This is nothing bad against Keller or good against Keller. That's not like the brokerage education level. That's like just finding the top people in an industry and talking to them and spending real time with them. So I come back all energized, and you know, the nearest Keller is in like Nassau County, which if you live in Suffolk County is about the distance where Guatemala is. So
Yes.
like, just like, you know, I'm not going out to Nassau. They definitely won't go out to Queens. I still got that Suffolk County mindset. So I start to recruit at the brokerage I'm at. And what happens is that, you know, it's going really well. And I told her I want to do this and grow it. And she loved the idea. Then she reconsidered. So when she reconsidered, she reversed a lot of the stuff. So we started losing a bunch of agents. The last 5 came up to me and said, JB, we love you. If you go, we're going to go with you wherever you go. But if you stay, we're going to leave because we just can't take it here. So I realized this thing is over. So I ended up going to Keller Williams Greater Nassau. And I want to be a team leader at the time. That's what I was really into. And they were like, look, we'd love to have you. You have potential like that, but we don't have any positions for you. When I left, by the way, my broker owed me about just under $30K worth of commissions, and she didn't pay me on any of them.
Wow.
Yeah, it just got resolved in litigation now.
Wow.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that I just did a destination wedding. I did all this stuff. So that was like $1 million to me at that moment. And my wife just lost her job because when she went away for the wedding, even though she told them 6 months in advance, they decided when she would go out, they were just going to replace her and let her know when she gets back so they don't upset her when she gets back from the wedding. So we both come back to like no income. So I tell them this, which sounds crazy at the time, but it wasn't. I said, I'll work for free. Just give me a job. I'll work for free. Not as a team. They made me director of agent services. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, seriously. And no one in the company knew I was working for free except for the owner and the actual team leader. And I was working there like on weekends too, 70 hours a week, commuting an hour each way, free. Teaching people. And then slowly they start to see what they like and they offer me a position, but then I get voluntold into coaching. You should coach. Everyone likes what you're doing. You should coach. You should coach. You should coach. So I started to coach real estate agents. And it started to grow because 10 years they didn't have a coaching program in place.
Wow.
And when they put it together, 4 or 5 people would sign up and disintegrate. My first coaching program with 42 people, within 6 months of us doing it, we were responsible for 20% of the revenue for the company through that coaching program. So what started to happen is I started to build out my own brand and what I wanted to do. And I started to expand on these ideas. And the nice thing about, you know, when I was there training people was it was very fun. But the problem is that, you know, if you're limited to one organization, you can't really expand. And
You can only help so many people.
That's right. And if you're familiar with Keller Williams, they're very recruit heavy.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. But if you work for them in a capacity as their trainer only, other companies may not be as open to letting you in because they're thinking you're going to recruit.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Yeah. So I came up with this idea. I said, I want to open up a virtual training platform. I want to create an office. Let's build out a studio. Let's do something. And they were like, yeah. Sure. And, but I could see it wasn't really looked at as real. So I went to, I'm a big Grant Cardone guy. Grant Cardone is one of my biggest people that's helped me through a lot of these processes as far as like getting to where I'm at today. So I give him a lot of credit for that. So I went to GrowthCon this past year. So February 3rd, 2019, I'm sitting at a dinner table, and it's funny because half the guys at that table are in this group for LLS.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They were at GrowthCon. So
That are on the team?
Yeah. I mean, actually, not half, like 3 of the guys. Okay. So, and I came up with this idea. I said, look, I want to create like the mecca for business and salespeople. I want an environment they can come in and get everything done, one-stop shop. And they were like, yeah, that's a great idea. So February 3rd, I come up with the idea. Come back to New York. February 20th, I secure the building.
So this wasn't like a franchise opportunity. There was no model in place. You created this.
I created this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a licensee with Grant, but this is not a franchise model. A licensee enables you to sell his stuff as well because you're licensed to do that.
Okay.
But you run your own company.
Got it.
So February 20th, I secure the building. When I write the check, I have enough money to keep the place for 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and I signed a long-term lease. I still got to furnish it. I still got to staff it. I got to build out a studio. I got to come up with what our products are. I got to find sponsors. None of that's done. So what I did was then I go out to a marketplace. I sell over like $100,000 worth of pre-coaching sales before we even like pre-opening sales and coaching services.
How did you go and do that?
What you got to do is most coaches make the biggest mistake. They ask for $100. I would ask for $100,000. Like you got to go to someone who's got a big enough problem where it makes sense. Like you're not getting their attention. If you need training, and it's not an insult to anyone, but if you need training, but you're like $100 is too much for me, you don't need training, right? Like if I was in a body cast, I don't need a personal trainer. I need a physical therapist. I need a doctor. And if I said I need a personal trainer, I'd be like, bro, you need to learn how to walk first. So this person's not ready for coaching yet. So I got to go find people that actually needed a problem solved, that need a personal trainer, not a doctor. Does that make sense?
No, it's just it's interesting you say that because I remember hearing I don't know who it was. They're talking about they walk by the same homeless guy every single day, and the guy's like, "Give me $1, give me $1, give me $1," and they come back and like, "Listen, you're in the richest city in the." Have you heard the story?
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Who said this?
Tony Robbins.
Was it?
Yeah. He talked.
You're in the richest city.
Something like that.
Yeah, you're in the richest city in the world. Ask for $100 or ask for $20.
Yeah.
Come back like 2 days later, the guy's got like $3,000 in his pocket or something crazy.
Exactly. It's whatever you ask for. So I put that together. And I thought that it would be very difficult to find sponsors and very easy to find customers. It was the opposite. It's funny, too, because I ended up making some great relationships because there's companies that I worked with for many years that made 6 figures through referrals from me, and they weren't as receptive. And there's other people that I met for the first time, didn't know me from a hole in the wall, didn't even know who Grant was, didn't know anything. And they were like, yeah, we'll back it. We want to support this. Nice. So it would have gave me a good opportunity to build something. And I remember Grant gave me advice once. He said, dude, you're not going to meet anyone until you build something worth them coming to. Like you're trying to find the right people to work with. You're trying to find the right people, and none of them. We don't even. If I didn't have that company, we wouldn't have even met. Like so it's basically it's a comm line, and the way you call it a comm line is you got to build something out. So there's a terminal. A terminal is an individual. So imagine an airport. Each airline has several terminals, right? That's one terminal. Most people try and build their network through terminals. You need an airport where terminals can establish themselves in it, where you can have lots of terminals. That business was a vehicle to create that airport, to connect me to all the terminals, if that makes sense. So that's why it was important to do. So come up with the idea February 3rd, secure the building February 20th, move in April, grand opening by June. We staffed it by May, and we're rolling, and things are going well.
And you had 2 months worth of bills in the bank
at the time. Yeah. Plus I got to pay for my own stuff at home. So like that's that. But
wow,
you got to commit first, figure the rest out later. And I promised everyone a studio. I didn't know that the screens were going to be $7,000 a pop, plus for installation. I didn't know that studio was going to cost almost 6 figures to build out. I thought I was going to spend like $10,000 in there. Yeah. But what I promised, I did. So so what I'm saying is that when I first put this stuff together, it was an idea. But when I sold that idea, I had to deliver the idea for me too. Wow. And every night when I would go to bed, I would say, I can't afford not to do this. Wow. I can't afford not to do this. So there
must have been moments where you were like, holy shit, just stressed out. I mean, we all go through that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the action, you like the action of it, but there have to be moments where you were like, holy shit.
Of course, yeah. But the thing is that what you got to do is just get real busy. And not everything was perfect, right? Like when you first started, there's some things that work out really well. Some things don't go as planned. You find some byproducts that work really well. But what starts to happen is you start to develop something. And look, the biggest problem is most people that don't do business with me don't know I exist.
Yeah.
So I'm battling obscurity. Once I get out of obscurity, it becomes more and more of a bigger thing. So the goal is to create community from this company and to be able to help people to really like get to their next level. I have clients. I don't know if she'd be cool with me saying her name as one example from Long Island, but like real documented. You can even interview her. A year ago, I started to work with her, and she literally was using dish soap as shampoo. Like she couldn't afford, like she wasn't buying. She was like literally like, forget about broke, negative broke. Today, she's made over $45,000 from January 1st to right now. She's got 6 figures reserves in the bank.
Wow.
She's got, I think, 13 active listings, 7 under contract, and she just listed another 8. And our goal is for before the end of February for her to have 10 listings.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's other examples too. I have other people that maybe didn't score that high, but what they did was they were able to leave their jobs, go buy a house, raise their family, make the moves they wanted. So whatever your appetite is, we can do it. Because I've literally coached people. Like I've coached companies that they want me to teach them things that the average price point's $50 million. They know I never sold a $50 million listing. They know that. And they still have chosen me to do it and deliver it because there's a way to actually deliver it to people where it just resonates.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that I teach, except for that $50 million exception, I've done and I do. But what I'm saying is that like what I really enjoy the most, the best commission is creating these type of relationships, because if you can change people's lives, you can literally change the world. I can create an environment. I know it's safe. Like if I create the million millionaires, which I want to do.
That's what I was going to transition to. Tell me about how that transitions into your goal for $1 million millionaires and what that means to you and what you feel the ripple effect of that is.
That's a great question. So if you look at most places, let's not even look international. Let's look in America, where there's the most shootings, violence, drug abuse, disease, economically speaking. What are the economics there? Low or high? It's low.
Yeah.
Right? So the reality is that what I've started to notice is that income, being broke, if it's not temporary, if it's something that's chronic for someone, is just a byproduct of some things that are happening internally, mentally. It's a lower level of sanity. Because people that are chronically broke tend to have the same problems indefinitely. You may start to see things that maybe in their relationships that aren't the same. When you confront them on something, nothing's ever their fault. There's a lot of blame. There's more disorganization. The broke is not because of that. Broke is just one of the things of it. You don't have a fever. A fever is a part of a viral, an effect from a virus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I started to realize that people that tend to have higher income, not always, but in areas, there's usually a higher level of sanity and a reason and rationale. Hence why it's easier to accumulate money. Because money in itself is made up. Money is just a unit of attention. Someone who understands how to build relationships can get more money, because where attention flows, money goes. That's why Kylie Jenner's a billionaire. That's why no one buys anything from her, and yet she still sells a lot. But what does she do? She's good at getting attention.
Yeah.
And attention, money follows attention. So I started to see that, okay, the better the income is, the higher levels of sanity there are. Can I change the world by just being a philanthropic? No. Does that mean I'm not going to be? I'm going to be. But if I can create 1 million millionaires, that means there's 1 million people in my network that are directly connected to me, my family, where my children can grow and go anywhere on this planet and have a friend there and have people that do well. And those people will definitely pass it on, because people that do well don't keep it internally. They spread it on. So one of the best ways to actually accomplish lower crime, higher levels of education, create peace in places, create those type of environments is by making sure people become affluent the right way. And that's why I really did this.
I was going to ask you as a kind of like a closing out question of what's the future? I mean, you're a very young guy. You're 30 years old. You have a lot going on. You just started this business. It's taken off like a rocket. What's the future look like? But I think you just summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's what we want.
Bro, you're the man. I'm so happy to know you, to now call you my friend, to have you involved in this.
Same here. Thank you.
How do people reach out to you in any industry, especially real estate, if they're interested in training, if they're interested in going from zero to hero, or if they've hit like a certain ceiling in their business, even if they're doing well and they want to take it to the next level? How do they reach out to you and get a hold of you?
They can reach me at JB Bolvadin. You can find me that on Facebook.
Bolvadin, not Bolvadin.
Yeah, it's Bolvadin. And I guess we'll spell it. That'll be on the screen, right? Yeah. Yeah, you can find me there on Instagram or on Facebook. And I'll tell you what, guys, the best way is this. If you have a heavy appetite, if you want a lot from your life, then I think this is the right place for you. And we can really scale you up. And just come to one of our boot camps or classes to get started with it. But I think that if you really want to make a difference, not just make money, then my organization is the right place for you.
Yeah, I can personally tell you, I've been to the facility. It's awesome. I've been on a podcast there. The tech is as good as it gets. It's a really, really great place.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you, man. You did a great job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Obviously, I'm the Handsome Homebuyer. If you have a house that smells like cat pee, land for commercial development, gas stations, you name it, I want to buy it. 516-77 sold. That is a wrap.
Orgulloso estoy de mi herencia judía.
Benjamín Lev Ben Shlomo, cuando me llaman a la torre, así me llamo yo.